Hi David, how you doing?
I'm good, Ben. How are you?
Well, between the three of us, I've had a bit of a nightmare at the minute. As you can see, my house behind me is in a state of getting an extension done. So
Nice.
I have packed my Buna 12 cast strength in a box somewhere, and I have no idea where it is. So tonight I'm on two different Bunas, unfortunately.
Hey, well, just fly it. It doesn't matter. Just fly it. There's not a problem.
So being the person that bought the bottle, split the bottle, got you to come on a call, and I'm the only one not drinking it tonight.
Well, that's selflessness for you there, Ben.
Yeah. You'll enjoy it all the more once you find it.
But I've decided to cheer myself up. I am going to open this tonight. I haven't opened it yet, so
yeah, you will enjoy.
Yeah,
you will enjoy.
I got this when I was there in September, so
good.
I'm going to open that tonight instead.
Excellent stuff.
So, David,
I'm kind of through in what I suppose we can best describe as the guest bedroom, which is where I tend to be for these onlines. The difference this time is Heather's pal's actually overstaying with us just now. So I've kind of pushed things a little bit that way and found a space. So it's okay, but I've got everything kind of close at hand that I think I might need. And most importantly, I've got a dram in my hands. So
good stuff.
Yeah.
Just David, tonight, most people on it are well, probably everyone on it are whiskey folk. So they all know their whiskey. Really kind of relaxed. You know, it'll just be a free-for-all sort of chat, maybe give us a wee bit of history sort of behind the thinking of the dram, then a bit about the dram, and then a bit of tasting.
Yeah.
Really relaxed.
The thing will run its course, Ben. You know, it'll just be what it is. Do you just kind of do the one dram and then everyone goes, are folk in a few other things, or how long does this usually run?
So just whatever. I mean, it was just all about the 12 cast strength tonight, but I would imagine sometimes if nobody has anything else on, we just stick around and free pour and have a bit of crack.
Yeah. I will keep going as long as I can. I get a message. My daughter works at the local hospital here, and she messaged me on Tuesday to say 20 to 3 tomorrow, Feather, get your arse up here for your jags. So I got my booster and I got my flu jag yesterday. So I'm a little bit wabbit today. I'm not suffering, but I'm starting to feel a bit snottery and a bit shit. But I'll kill it with drink. So
That's it.
You know.
That's it.
Ben, the only other thing to say is it's recording at the moment, so I don't know. I set it to auto record. I don't know if that's right with David.
Yeah, I don't think that I'll say anything untoward, to be honest. We'll
stop it. We'll stop it at a certain point, David, and then you can say all the untoward stuff afterwards.
If any of the conversation veers towards a guy with a distillery in Ireland, then we'll immediately hit the stop recording button. You know,
I don't know who you're talking about.
Because I won't be able to stop if I start on that one.
I think a few of the members have had a bit of rant about that as well. So we're in safe company here. Evening, Frank. Hi, Frank.
Yeah, I already said evening, gents.
Oh, sorry, didn't hear you.
No bother. I do it with not an extra alcohol, but some extra years. Is that correct with you, David?
Sorry, say that one again, Frank.
I do it with some extra years instead of some extra alcohol. My sample will arrive tomorrow, so
yeah,
I do have the 18 years old.
You're doing fine then. You're doing fine. Is it a recent purchase, Frank, or is it one that you've had for a good while?
This one is a good while. I think this one is a 2016, I think. And there is a 2018 or 19 in the cabinet.
Okay. So, okay. No, I only ask because probably the last two releases, the last two batches that we've done of 18 have been not 18, They've probably been about 3 years older. So it was just in case you had one of them. But it's a good one to get right now, because it's easier just to use older stock than it is to suddenly change a bottling line.
Yeah.
So it's a really nice dram, probably about 21-year-old, the stuff that's in current release, the last batch of 18. So yeah.
Is there something I can see it on the bottle or on the package from which year it is?
You would need to get the bottle actually out of the case, and down at the bottom, just below the notch for the labelling, there is a really tiny little piece of writing. And on there, if you decipher the end of it, it will tell you the year that it's been bottled, and it will tell you the time, and it will also tell you the numerical date of that year.
Okay.
Now, I can't, even with my specs on, I can't read this bottle of 12 that I've got here just now, because my eyes are just too short from too many years of drinking and abusing my own body. So, but if you even take a photograph of it and enlarge it, then you can usually decipher and tell what year it ran through and right down to the time and the day that it ran through the bottling line.
Okay. I'll try. I tried to check it with the current one, but I didn't find it, so I was asking.
The problem is that if you're doing it in the middle of the whiskey shop at the bottom of Buchanan Gallery, they don't like it. So.
Did you say your samples arriving tomorrow, Frank?
Yeah, they will. I hope they will. I just got a message today. Custom has released it after me paying another, I think it was 10 euros or so import taxes, and now they've released it, and I will deliver it tomorrow. So
it's such a battle just now. It really is.
It is. Yeah. You cannot purchase just a bottle. It's way too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I've been sent it out a present, which was a bottle, and it turned out to be an independent one. But it was a present. When you will be given a present, it's not normal that you have to pay. So great, isn't it?
No.
I had to pay 45 euros.
Oh,
wow!
Just import taxes. And yeah, and so the 10 euros for the samples Tom sent me, in which the 12-year-old cask strength is part of, it's only cost me 10 euros. So it's a real bargain.
Yeah, there's not really much that we can say to offer any comfort. It's just. It's so infuriating.
See where I live. You don't need Brexit. You just need Hermes to fuck up your whiskey delivery.
They're very good at that, aren't they?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Master of Malt just had to refund me my delivery because Hermes have lost it. Lost it, sitting in the guy's house.
Yes, aye.
They kindly left a bottle of Yamazaki 18 in my recycling bin about 20 minutes before the recycling men turned up, but I managed to rescue it just about.
Close.
It's when you get the message on your phone, we've put it in your recycling bin, and you're kind of 10 minutes from home, and you know when they're coming. So, yeah.
Bit of jeopardy.
Yeah.
I'll come and get my next bottle at your work, David, I think.
That's the way to do it.
I hope it is in May.
Excellent. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of people coming across for the festival next year. Is it the festival you come from, Frank, or a little bit either side of it?
Both. I think I booked Portmore at from Lagavulin Day up until the day after I back. So
very good.
a full week.
Excellent. Good.
Right, people are starting to arrive in now.
Mhm.
How's it going? You good?
Mhm.
Kind of quiet now still.
Again, Frank?
I think it's kind of quiet. I should have expected more people around here at the moment.
We'll give them a couple of minutes. People will be maybe just running a couple of minutes late.
There's not much to bring them on tonight, Frank. That's the thing, you know.
need bigger star billing.
There's no big attraction here tonight. So before anyone else does come on, Ben, I'll just reiterate my apologies that I've not got to the post office with your glass yet.
You're fine. I've plenty of glasses here.
Given your talent for losing things while you're, I'll maybe wait until the extension's finished.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. Probably a good idea.
It's annoying because I actually brought two. I could have had one of these.
I'll find it somewhere and I'll enjoy it down the line.
Just rub it in.
I know. Right, Tom, what do you think? It's 7:32. Will we just get cracking and people can join us?
Yeah, I think it's, unfortunately, kids and things like that, it's sort of bedtime, isn't it? So we're recording and everyone will join in. I'll have to duck out at some point when my takeaway turns up. So
priorities.
Yeah, so let's get it out of the way while I'm here and enjoy the dram with David. And then, no, I'm sure people will dip in over the next sort of 5-10, but let's just start and yeah.
Sure. Okay, well, obviously a bit of a small group tonight, which is good. We get all of David's attention between us then. Only 3 of you actually have the dram. Me and Frank don't. So even smaller group that's actually going to be tasting it with David. So David, as I say, I'll just hand over to you.
Absolutely.
And you can take us through the journey of it.
Yeah, thanks very much, Ben. First of all, thanks for messaging me and mentioning this to me. The fact that you'd managed to get a bottle and your group we're going to be taking the opportunity to have a little go at it. We know what it is. First of all, what do you think of the packaging?
Very Bunnahabhain. It's instantly recognisable as a Bunnahabhain.
Yeah, I quite like it. It's kind of halfway between the standard packaging and the brightly coloured various ones that we've been doing for those kind of limited edition bottles. but I think it does look nice. The dram itself, there's been a bit of a kind of call out for a cask strength Bunnahabhain 12-year-old, because the 12-year-old itself, the standard 12-year-old, has been so well received over the years, but I think even more so in recent years. I think we've seen a big improvement in the whisky, and that's right across the Bunnahabhains, but I think we've seen a big improvement in the Bunnahabhain whiskies, and I put quite a lot of that down to when we were bought in 2013, when Burn Stewart were bought by Distell, because Burn Stewart, our previous owners, they obviously had ourselves, they had Deanston, they had Tobermory. They've got the 2 blends, or they had the 2 blends, Scottish Leader and Black Bottle. And I always say to people, don't shy away from the blends. Black Bottle, Bunnahabhain goes into the Black Bottle blend, and it's a cracking drinking whiskey. If I was going across that road there to Luch's, I'm not going to be drinking malts. I could never afford these prices if I was drinking malts regularly across there. So I'm going to sit and I'm going to drink Black Bottle. I also kind of highly recommend Scottish Leader to people as well, particularly if they've maybe got some really persistent dirty marks in their windows, or maybe the alloy wheels in the cars are looking a bit pitted, because Scottish Leader will remove any dirt, 99% of germs, I think the advert says. So yeah, but the thing was, for all the fact that Burn Stewart had a good stable of drams, they were never that well capitalised. There wasn't a big lump of money to dip into, to invest, and to focus, if you wanted to focus. And when Distell bought Burn Stewart, yeah, we're at a point right now when maybe that relationship's going to come to at least a change, if not an end. But it did allow the distilleries to invest much more heavily in their cask policy. And I think all three distilleries have benefited from that. As I say, I think Bunnahabhain has improved in the time that I've been there, just, because I only went there as a trying to retire, but I still need to get a bit of work. I just went there in 2015. But I think the drams year on year get better and better. But you really see the big difference with what Distell have done with our sister distilleries, with Deanston and with Tobermory. Tobermory particularly, they had to close their equipment, and all the rest of it was terrible. Just needed so much work doing to it. And that's happened, and they're up and running again. And obviously they've got the gin and all the rest of it now. Lechik has always had a decent name. Tobermory itself, if you bought a bottle of the old Tobermory 10-year-old, that kind of greeny black packaging and whatnot, that was very hit or miss, but more often miss. It wasn't always a good dram. There were, occasionally it was okay. By Tobermory 12, good stuff, really, really good stuff. So we've seen that kind of having its effect, and I think we've scored quite heavily from that point of view. Deanston, brilliant, absolutely brilliant, the stuff that they're putting out. Now, it's not everybody's style of whiskey. If you were somebody who was really drawn to the dark side of the island here, you're not going to enjoy a Deanston probably. But if you've got a kind of a more general, I'll try other whiskies, and maybe you enjoy Speysides and all that kind of thing, Deanston's a cracking dram, So that's kind of where we are with it. As far as the 12-year-old goes, that has evolved over time. If we go back to 10 or 12 years ago, we were probably pumping about 3/4 bourbon barrel into the 12-year-old. Quarter of it would have been sherry cask. It was chill filtered. It was getting put out at 40% in the UK market and 43% in the US. And it wasn't the best. Our master blender, twice removed now, because it's Julianne just now. Prior to that was Kirsty McCallum. But before Kirsty McCallum was Ian McMillan. And Ian McMillan has a bit of a mixed press in the whisky industry, but generally the work that he does, very, very good. The biggest thing that he did for the three distilleries was do away with chill filtering and let's get the stuff out 46.3. And that just allowed the whiskies to bloom and to blossom. And subsequently, Kirsty and right now Julianne are thriving in the back of that. We've also now got Brendan on board as well. And, you know, Brendan was the golden child. He was going to be Bill Lumsden's replacement. So it was a huge thing for us as a group of distilleries to attract Brendan to join Bunnahabhain. And this dram that we've got here tonight is essentially Brendan's baby, because he recognised that there was a place in the market for Bunnahabhain 12-year-old at cask strength. So I haven't poured mine yet. I'm just about to pour one of them anyway.
So, David, can I just ask a question? So if it was Brendan's idea to then release a cask strength 12, working for Distill in a group of distilleries, I mean, you don't have to share the inner workings, but what's the decision process from Brendan having an idea to somebody saying, yeah, go ahead and make that?
Well, essentially, Brendan is now these job titles, they change like the weather, you know. But I think he's currently maybe head of distilleries or master distiller for the three distilleries. The name doesn't matter. The title doesn't matter. But he is in overall charge of the production right through to now to what goes into what cask and all the rest of it. He's also in discussions at board level with regards to where our actual liquid is going to go. And he is quite adamant that more of it needs to not go anywhere. Because if you look at the independent bottling marketplace, you see far too many Bunnahabhains. And that actually goes back to previous overall ownership, when money was at a premium and you had to generate some cash flow, and probably too much was put out into the secondary marketplace. So as far as I can see, Brendan's kind of policy, if you like, is, why are we doing this to give other companies the benefit of our good work? We should be getting this stuff into the good casks and into the warehouses so that we can bring out the bottles that we want to bring out at the quality that we want to bring it out, and not other people getting the benefit of it. That will be quite a slow process, because there are many Bunnahabhains out in that secondary marketplace. So we'll see how long that's going to take. But essentially, he's in charge of the production of the liquid, the casks, and then it's between him and Julianne to actually get the stuff into the bottle in the style and the flavours that they want. And that's it in a nutshell, you know. I lose track of how long he's been with us now, but is it a year and a half? Is it? I don't know. I'm losing track of the whole damn thing with this lockdown and everything. But he's certainly putting a stamp on it. And I'm delighted that he brought this out, because, as I say, it's a question that's been asked for a long time. Why is there not a cask strength version of the 12-year-old? It's been pitched at a £75 price point. I'm old and I'm tight with my money. I think all whiskey is too expensive. You know, I would really have loved to have seen this one coming in at £60 maybe. I think that would have been a nice price point for it. But it's probably going to sell out anyway. And the price point is bang on Lafroig's cask strength 10-year-old. I like Glen Scotia's price point. I like that £60 mark. I think that's that attracts rather than nobody can look at that and say, well, that's a hell of a price. I don't think you can look at this and say, well, that's a hell of a price, but some people will.
I think it would have had to been very expensive to put people off, because as soon as people saw Bunnahabhain 12 cast strength come out, everyone was like, yeah, I want a bit of that. To be honest, the price point was why I did this bottle split.
Yeah.
It was a way to try it. But
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. No, it's entirely understandable. And it's a constant learning process as well, you know. If there's a too much a pushback about it, then yeah, they'll obviously
see,
because it's going to be an annual thing. This, you know, it's going to be an annual release.
Before you get into the tasting of it, David, a question somebody on the Discord asked me to ask you. It's a relatively simple question, but I'm not sure what the answer is. Is Bunnahabhain 12 cast strength Bunnahabhain 12 at cast strength?
Well, I started to talk about the 12-year-old, the standard 12-year-old, and its development over time. Okay. As I said, back in the days, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I'd have been telling you that it was 3/4 bourbon barrel and 1/4 sherry cask. That's come right round. It's evolved. It's come right round. Where we are just now with the standard 12-year-old is it's probably 80% sherry cask and 20% bourbon barrel. But I was in Brendan's company about 2 weeks ago, was it? We had some of the brass over from South Africa, and I ended up actually doing a tasting in Warehouse 9 with Brendan. And that was the first time we'd kind of worked together doing that kind of a thing. And I thoroughly enjoyed it because I was a wee bit, you know, I'm there in the ladder and he's off the top of the screen. So I was a wee bit trepidatious about it. But we hit it off really, really well. But one of the things that he told me at that point was that the next batch of standard 12 is going to be all sherry cask. So when we say it's all sherry cask, that doesn't always relate or equate to a sherry bomb though, because you've got quite a bit of sherry refill cask in there as well. You know, casks I've done a bit of time and which don't have the impact on what you think of as the typical sherry bomb. So yes, it will go to 100% sherry cask.
And David?
Yes.
If you say sherry, it is Oloroso.
I'm not going to say 100% Oloroso, but near as damn it, Frank. Yeah, yep. Near as damn it. There's not much of the other stuff, and we can go into a bit of detail about sherry cask, just depending on what you guys kind of want to know about it. But for the most part, Oloroso, yeah. But as I say, the refill casks, the casks that have had a couple of uses, don't impact in the same way as the fresher casks do. Obviously, you know, I'm talking to whiskey guys. I don't even know why I'm saying that. You know that. So you know, so we're going to be at that stage. If we'd been doing this a year from now and we'd been sort of talking about the standard 12 at 46.3 and the next batch of the cask strength 12, it's going to be 100% sherry cask. We're really, we're probably filling, when I look out onto our little bit of new wasteland, and those of you, like yourself, Ben, you said you were there in September. So you saw the new visitor centre, you saw the car park, but you've got that bit of wasteland where I think it was Warehouse 5 used to sit. And if you look at that on any given day, it's 80% sherry cask. Yeah, there's very few bourbon barrels coming floating in these days, and even the hoggies tend to be Oloroso hoggies. So that's the main driver for us, is the Oloroso casks, and I don't think we can go wrong with that, because I think it works really well with our spirit. You know, it just always seems to be the case. So I've got to be honest, guys. I don't ever do tastings where I try and fill your head full of, what I get in the nose and what I get in the palate and all those kind of things. So for that side of things, I'm more than happy to hear what you guys are saying about it. I'm nosing it just now, and just exactly the same as the very first day I got a sample of this, because we got a bit of tasting stock in before the release was done, and we had a little bit of homework to do on it. But it's a dram that I could nose for way, way too long. I tend to find if I get a dram with a really pleasing nose on it, I forget to actually drink the damn thing. So I'm more than happy to hear the thoughts on the nose from those of you that have got the dram, which is Simon and Gareth, Tom as well. Yeah.
Yeah, just the three of them have the dram, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, I have it too, but just can't find it.
Getting quite a lot of vanilla. I don't know about anybody else.
Yeah, I don't think it's an attacking nose on it, considering it's 55.1% alcohol. I don't think it's an attacking aroma.
Yeah, I think I could go for some vanilla, but also like milk chocolate on it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I was pouring it, I was definitely getting a lot of like dark berries on it, oaky vanilla probably. But yeah, I think chocolate as well, if I remember right, Tom. Yeah, definitely.
What I find to be highly reoccurring with the 12-year-old, but also with some of the other things that we've done recently, is actually chocolate orange, kind of Terry's chocolate orange. That kind of nose comes through, but it comes through even more for me when I start to drink the damn stuff, and then on the finish, it tends to be more orangey citrus than ever lemony citrus for myself.
It's interesting to say that, David, because I don't know whether I've only noticed this recently, but you tend to go through the steps of nosing a whiskey, drinking a whiskey, and then talking about the finish. But when I nose a whiskey, I've only really noticed this recently. My nose changes once I put it in my mouth. Yeah. I'll get entirely different things on my nose. So I write nosing notes, taste it, go back to nosing it, and my nosing notes are entirely different to when I first nosed it.
Yeah, that's it. Well, drinking a dram shouldn't be a 3-step process. It should be one big round experience, and you dip in and out, and Poor Tom, he's got to go away and get his carry out.
Tom's got life to live.
I'm sorry, I was supposed to be in the Midlands tonight, and my car broke down halfway, so I'm treating myself to a consolation takeaway. But it's been a fantastic tasting, David, and I have to say I do really like the cask strength. I know, obviously I appreciate the price being more aligned with where you see it, but I think it's still a cracking dram for the money. And I like you were talking about the packaging, and I think it reminds me a lot of the Redbreast cask strength 12, like just that sort of premium version of something that's still accessible, and a good introduction for people to cask strength. So yeah, I'm going to watch the rest on catch up, but have a great evening. Thank you.
Cheers, Tom. Slange.
And notice this one is not available, at least I haven't found it in the Netherlands. Will there be a 12-year-old cask strength available outside of the UK and within range of me?
It's going to make its way into all of our usual markets. I think I'm trying to think, is it France maybe, or there's one that we we can't put to right now. But yes, it will get into the Benelux group of countries, Frank. The release, here's another one. I think it was maybe about, I'm going to say maybe about 9,000 bottles in total, but it might be more than that. But some people say, oh, that's not very limited. But when you think that we're going to be putting a bit almost to every corner of the world, it is fairly limited, you know. And it kind of should be as well, you know. There should be a little bit of a reward for being able to get the bottle, and you know, be able to brag about it a little bit, you know.
I know. I do have some Bunnahabhains I can brag about.
So I've just taken my first couple of sips there. I kind of did my prep work, as I say, because I had a drama, the standard 12 there, just to open my mouth up and just to waken up my taste buds, because I'm not generally a big fan of going straight in on a cask strength whiskey as my first drama of the night. I like to always go in and just have something that I know and something that I can rely on, and that just kind of prepares the mouth. But even for the fact I've had that a bit of the standard to start with, my first sip, practice swing, just drop it onto the tongue, and I don't count it for anything. It's just to get the first reaction out of the way. And it's only then that I'll start to send it on its journey round about the rest of my mouth. So we're essentially, as we said, 100% Oloroso with us. Oloroso is quite a robust sherry. When I'm talking about the sherries in the warehouse, I tend to take people through the whole rigmarole of how sherry's actually matured as a drink in its own right, down in the triangle, down in the tri. But also talk about the actual kind of makeup of the sherries themselves. I've got some wee bottles here just to let you see. So when I'm talking about the sherries, essentially I take it from the dry sweet end and I talk about how you make Fino. And just so you know, that is what Fino sherry looks like. That's the colour of Fino. It's incredibly dry, bright and zingy as a sherry. We don't have a lot of Fino casks at Bunnahabhain, but we do have quite a lot of Manzanilla. I'm sure you've probably seen Manzanilla sherry casks creeping up quite regularly. Manzanilla is actually made in exactly the same way as Fino. In other words, it gets what they call a full biological maturation. There's a layer of yeast on the top of the liquid when it's in the casks as the sherry is transported down through the Solera system before it eventually gets to the bottom criadero and gets put into the bottles. So no colour, and that's because with the yeast on the top of it, there's no oxidation. It's oxidation that gives sherry sweetness and colour. What will happen sometimes, and by the way, the Fino sherry is always made with the free run juice from the grapes. So after the grapes are harvested, you'll get the first probably about 40% of the grape juice will simply come from the gravity, the weight of the grapes sitting on top of each other, and the grape shells crack and the juice runs out. And it's a very light, high quality juice that's used to make your Fino and your Manzanilla sherry. So that's kind of the starting point. What sometimes happens is if it's left in the casks for a longer period of time as it works its way down through the Solera system. Sometimes that floor, that yeast on the top surface will start to deteriorate and break up. And sometimes you will start to get air getting through into the sherry as it matures, and you'll get some oxidation. And the sherry itself will then start to take on some of the characteristics associated with the dark and the sweet end of the sherry spectrum. And what you'll sometimes end up with is something like that, which is a Amontillado sherry. And typically nutty, kind of almondy, those kind of flavours. I don't have one to show you, but the other way that Fino will sometimes go and develop would be into Palo Cortado. And Palo Cortado has different qualities and different flavours, different characteristics, and it also has different dollar signs on it because of the 6 million bottles of sherry that they make in a year, less than 100,000 will develop the characteristics to be classified as Palo Cortado sherry. So in the sherry houses, that's bonanza time. Lots of money for Palo Cortado sherry. So they're quite happy. But essentially, Amontillado is an offshoot from your Fino. I'm going to touch on this next one very, very, very briefly. And that's this beautifully dark, syrupy, sticky Pedro Jimenez. Incredibly sweet. That gets a full oxidative aging. In other words, there's no floor, no yeast on the sherry as it's maturing. The way they achieve the difference between having the yeast and having no yeast is by the level of fortification that they put on the wine. So your Fino is fortified with the spirit to 15% alcohol, and at that strength, the floor will grow. Pedro Jimenez and Oloroso, they're fortified to between 17 and 22% alcohol. Excuse me. And at that strength, the yeast won't form. So you get full oxidation and you get sweetness with PX. You get colour with both PX and Oloroso. PX, Pedro Jimenez, is made with a different grape to your Fino and all the offshoots of Fino and also Oloroso, because they're all made with the Palomino grape. But the Pedro Jimenez grape, different grape, much, much sweeter. Also, after the grapes have been harvested, which doesn't happen down in the Sherry Triangle because the grapes don't even grow down there. They don't like the soil. Pedro Jimenez grapes have grown 150 kilometres away in another wine region called Montilla Maria, which is near Cordoba. But once they've picked the grapes, before they're transported down to eventually become sherry, they're then just stuck in the ground on little round mats, and they lie under the old Spanish sunshine for a few days, up to maybe even 3 weeks, to dehydrate. And by the time the Spanish sun has its effect, they're like little frosty raisins. And that's when they're ready to go to be turned into the PX. And that's the result, this beautiful, sticky, unctuous, viscous Pedro Jimenez sherry. Sweet, incredibly sweet. Tell you how sweet it is. If I was showing you a 75 centilitre bottle, standard size bottle of Pedro Jimenez sherry, and we could magically granulate the natural sugars in it, would be sitting with 400 grams in a bag. Incredibly sweet. However, that's just another angle, because what we're here to talk about is Oloroso. And this isn't an overly dark Oloroso, but Oloroso, dark because of that full oxidative aging, drier than PX because it's made with that Palomino grape. However, the juice that's used to make your Oloroso is the mechanically pressed juice of the grapes. So it's a much more robust juice in the first place, because there's a whole lot of other things coming out from the skins and the stalks and everything that you don't get just from the free run juice, just of the grapes cracking. And so very, very light juice for your Fino and your offshoots of it. Much more heavy, robust for your Oloroso. And this is the one that we use most for our casks. And that's the one that's sending all its characteristics through to the 12th and the cask strength 12. Here endeth tonight's sherry lesson.
Just before you end it, David, my one of my favourite drams, because there was so many in my warehouse 9 tasting, was the PX No. Is that how you pronounce it?
No way, yeah, PX No way.
Is that then a Solera system for sherry? Is that what that indicates?
Here's the thing with that Noe, because that cask that you tasted, if it was September, that would probably still have been cask 556, I think, Ben, which was the second one of those we'd had in. We've just replaced that cask. We've got cask 559 in now, which is the third one in the series over the years that we've had these coming through. That one you tasted, smooth, sweet, fruity, all the things you should get. Not too much colour in it, you know. If we were doing the comparison, maybe that colour, you know. Because I don't have anything else to kind of compare. Maybe lighter than that. Maybe that colour. Okay. If you'd been in there 3 years previously drinking cask 555, you'd have been looking at that colour. Now, beautiful big 700 litre sherry butt. The front of it tells us Gonzales Pius. It's got a little picture of Mr. Tio Pepe with his guitar, and then underneath it, it tells us Pedro Jimenez Noe, N-O-E. But as I say, 3 years ago, we emptied that cask through a summer and an autumn and then into a winter. And it was beautiful. It was smooth. It was all the things that you expect of it. But as I say, it was about that colour. And it was an absolute horror story for me. There you go.
There you go, Frank.
It's an absolute... At the one.
Because Frank was there at the same time as me, so...
Aye, perfect.
I still have them.
Yeah,
those are my Christmas drams.
Perfect. So this one 3 years ago had even less colour than the one that you tasted, and it gave me headaches, because I did a whole load of tastings, and I'd be pouring the dram, and I'd be telling people that Pedro Jimenez and all these kind of things, and they would say, aye, but what about the colour? Should it not be dark? And I'd be like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it's that colour. Okay. And basically I just brass necked my way through the whole season without being able to put this to any good use. However, it got to, excuse me, I'm just need to take a wee drink of water. It got to about this time of year, but exactly 3 years ago, and some guys came to the distillery to do a warehouse tasting. They arrived at the old shop at the top of the pier, and they were all my age and older, and they were very, very well presented. There was quite a lot of tweed going on, and there was some very nice headgear, you know, deer stalkers, that kind of thing. And I immediately picked up that they had an overseas accent, which I thought was Mediterranean. Speaking perfect English, absolutely perfect English, fluent in every way. But I thought, oh, sounds like a Spanish accent. So anyway, we headed for the warehouse, and I'm walking beside this guy, and I said to him, I hope you don't mind me asking, and you don't think this is rude. I said, but your English is so good, but your accent, I says, where are you from? Are you Spanish? Oh, yes, we're all Spanish. All right, great. What part of Spain are you from? Oh, we're all from Jerez. my heart just went, because I thought these guys are obviously kind of men of the world, going to be knowledgeable. They come from Jerez, and I'm going to try and talk sherry cask to these guys. Right, doesn't matter. We had a great tasting, and by the end of it, I knew that 3 of them were directors of Lustau, which is the second biggest sherry house. And one of them, he took out a bottle from his bag, and he kind of poured us all a little taste of this Oloroso sherry from his family sherry house. And the Solera system that this particular this sherry started in 1959. So it was just like a wee bit of heaven in a glass, it was just lovely. The last guy, he wasn't so happy when he looked at the very cask that I'm talking about, and he pointed at Gonzalez Bias. He said, "Oh, my wife's bias." So there you go. That's it. Yeah, he points at it. He goes, "My wife, she's bias." Anyway, here is the crux, and it's that little word "noe" that makes the difference, because Pedro Jimenez Noe is what we would know as the VORS from Gonzalez Bias. Now we anglify it. It's actually Latin, that phraseology within the wine world. But we anglify it, and we talk about very old and rare sherry. In other words, the sherry itself that was used to condition that cask, the sherry was at least 30 years old. Now, these guys knew that. They immediately knew that. And when I started to stumble about the colour of this dram, the boy said to me, he says, "David, you're panicking about nothing here." He says, we're in the industry, and we know sometimes sherry at that age is just the same as vintage port, and it loses its colour. And I was like, does it? Well, I didn't know that, and I wish I'd known it 6 months ago. And that's why that particular dram doesn't carry a lot of colour, but it's got all the qualities. It's got everything that you would kind of expect of it, So that's your Noe. That's PX Noe. They've been great casks. The new one, 559, is no different. It's an absolute beauty. Did I bring any of it? No, I have not got any there just now. But anyway, yeah.
So we have to go back, Ben, to taste that one as well.
We definitely do. It was. I just looked at the photo there. It was 556 that we were drinking. So.
Yeah. Yeah. The 559 one, just I bought here less strength, 52 exactly. It is. But it's lovely again. It's a great whiskey. Yeah. How are we getting on with the cask strength?
Simon, what are you thinking of it?
It's really nice. I've got the 12 as well. It is a different dram, isn't it? It isn't just a hotter version of the 12. It's completely different.
Yeah.
And I think they both got the place in the range, because I couldn't drink the cask strength every night, whereas the 12 is very much an easy, just sit there and drink dram. So, no, it's lovely. I get a lot.
I think also what
cherry in there as well.
Mm-hmm. I think the being at the 55.1% as well, though, Simon, it does allow you. I mean, like, I never add water, never ever do it, but I know that people who are far better at drinking their whiskey than I am will do that, and will find their sweet spot with the dram, and that's quite important, I don't think you can. There's no need to take the standard 12-year-old down any further. You could drink it all night at 46.3%. Yeah. But maybe the cask strength for a lot of people, they'll want to find their own sweet spot with.
I was going to say, to have a play with, I think it'd be good. Yeah, sit and have a play with it.
Yeah. I'm back nosing it again. I love the nose.
Not completely off topic, but because I don't have any of the cask strength, I've got the Bordeaux Finish Feshield 2013 that I've cracked open tonight, and it is an absolute stonker of a dram.
Yeah, it's just a great whiskey, that one, Ben. Was that your first dram of the night, or did you have something to open up your buds earlier?
I opened with this.
Pneumonia.
Yeah,
good stuff. Well, that one appeared on Twitter the other night there, because I can't remember who it was. Somebody was saying, are they going to be getting any more onto Amazon? Because they were just about to finish their bottle. And I was pretty sure that Paul Wanless had said not that long ago that no, that was all Amazon were getting, and it was going back to only Sweden. But I actually kind of tagged him in on it and asked the question, and he confirmed that. So that particular one, that's going to go back to just being a Sweden only, Swedish market only.
That's a shame.
It is. I think it's just about stock levels again. I think there's maybe a bit of that in it. But the boy that had asked me the question in the first place, he went straight back on and bought 3 bottles. So
that Moynier is a cracking dram at the price.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. When it first came out, Simon, when it was Sweden only, I'd had a little look at it on the old interweb to see what was happening with it, and the website that I saw it on was selling it at 389 kroner or crown, right? And I'm like, haven't got any clue what that is, So let's get on to the old money translate. What's the equivalent? What does that?
45 euros.
35. At that time, £35. And I'm like, what? Because Sweden is notoriously expensive, and they were getting this at 35 quid. I'm like, this is crazy. This is crazy. That should be more widely available. And I mean, it's probably quite young, the stuff that's in it.
You've just scared me, David. I'm on Amazon buying this for 33 quid now.
I was literally just doing the same as well.
Just do it, guys.
It's a regular Moynier. It's a regular Moynier.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
No.
And I was at 2016 at your place, and at 2017 I bought a Moynier as well. And that was a good Moynier.
It wouldn't have been that one, Frank, because we have never ever had that particular bottle in the visitor centre because it was always Swedish marketplace. So there was no point in us having it.
Is the standard 12-year-old your best-selling Bunnahabhain?
It always has been. I think that might change a little bit because we obviously brought in the Sturager as essentially as our mass marketplace whiskey.
Yeah.
Now, it's a little bit less in price. It's a little bit less in flavour. Let's be brutally honest about it. It's still very typically Bunnahabhain characteristics. It's all sherry and sherry refill cask. It's still non-chill filtered. It's still natural colour. It's not got a huge amount of colour about it. Stick it beside a 12 and, night and day. But it's highly drinkable at the price that it's at. And we just couldn't meet the market requirements, the demand in the marketplace with 12-year-old. We would have been shooting ourselves in the foot to try and do that, and would just have been disappointing. So it's one of these things where I think whiskey people, 5 of us round the table here, whiskey people will make their own call on the Sturager. Do I think that it's... Well, what are we doing it at? We're doing it at 38 as against 44 for the 12. That's visitor centre prices. You can pick it up for less than that. But would I pay £6 more to get 12? Yes, I would. If I needed a bottle of Bunnahabhain and I was in a shop that only had Sturager, then I would buy the Sturager. So I think there's a place for it. I don't think the 12 will ever go away. But it's maybe too good to be the bottom rung on the ladder. So
I think for me personally, there's 3. I was having this chat. I was lucky enough to go round to Roy's house a couple of weeks ago, Aqua Vita's. I was having a chat with him, and I'm so early in my whiskey journey. There's so much to discover out there. I tend to not replace bottles. I buy it and then I go, done that now. But there's 3 bottles that I do replace consistently. and that's the Aaron 10, the Ben Romack 10, and the Bunnahabhain 12.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So and fully understandable.
I was just going to say, David, we're nearly at an hour into the Zoom meeting just now, so I'm going to wrap up the recording just there. So for everyone that's watching on catch up, and I know a lot of you will be watching on catch up, David, on behalf of the Certified Originals group, I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your evening to come along and sample this with at least 3 people anyway. But Frank and I will taste it down the line, and lots of people will be tasting this on the catch up as well, which is great. So
as usual, Ben, it's ended up being way more than what do we think of whiskey, because we never even spoke about the finish, but mine's is finished, so that's the finish.
Exactly, that's it. That's the finish. That's finished. So thanks again, David. I'm just going to stop the recording now.
Pleasure.